Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Inshallah, we'll get started up today from Kitab al-Hudud. And this is where I'm from the Mutn Shujaa. And so of course, this is one of the things that is often equated with Sharia and Shariah. When people think of Sharia, they think of this bab only. And of course, this is one of the abwab of Sharia. We've been studying Sharia for how many months now? And so, of course, this is one of the things that is brought up a lot. And so, inshallah, we'll talk about it. And of course, hudud or had. Hudud is the plural of had. And had means mana in the Sharia, which means to prevent something. And so, of course, having a preventative measure for something that we would do that is unseemly, or something that is wrong, then this is one of the ways to keep us from doing something. Of course, if there's something that we have a strong call to do and there's a lot of desire to do it, then having a punishment for it that is in this life is something that helps us stay away from it more than otherwise. And so this is of the wisdoms behind the hudud, is that this keeps people away from doing it, and it gives them zajr, or something that will stop them from doing it, and this is the benefit of that. And so the author here, he goes into this, and also he says here, was zani. So he's going to start up with zina, the had for zina. And so, of course, there's different hudud that come for different things, and this is of the first ones that he's going to bring up here. So he says, was zani ala darbaini, muhsanun wa ghayra muhsan. So Abu Shujaa here, he says that the zani there's two types of zani, rahimahullah. So he says the first of them is the muhsan, and the muhsan, we'll talk about what is a muhsan, like ihsan, and this comes from this word, which is linguistically it means something that has multiple meanings. Muhsan has multiple meanings. Of the meanings linguistically is that this is something that has been prevented. But it comes up in the Quran, muhsanat, or muhsin with the kasra on the sin, and it's the same meaning for the most part. But this usually, one of the meanings of it is that this is for someone who's married, someone who's been previously married before, or has entered into marriage, and this was what he means here. And then he also says wa ghayra muhsan, and then for the other person, which is that they haven't been married yet. And so, he's going to talk about what is the muhsan here. So he says, فَالْمُحْسَنُ حَدُّهُ الرَّجْمُ. And so for the muhsan, the had for him is a rajm, which is stoning. And the stoning happens with, of course, with conditions. It has to be affirmed, or this person claims it for himself. He says, "Oh, I did zina," and he says this in front of a court of law, and he makes iqrar, which is he testifies against himself. And this, or there's four witnesses that see him, four witnesses that see the actual act and whatnot. And so, and rajam is what comes in this. And of course, this is of the things that used to be in the Quran. There used to be in the Quran a shaykha was shaykha, and farjumuhum albatta. And so this ida zaniya farjumuhuma albatta. And so the shaykh and the shaykha, the old man and the old woman, if they do zina, then stone them, and complete right away, without any questions asked about that. And this used to be of what was in the Quran, and it's narrated that this used to be in Surah Ahzab. So this is in the Quran that is now abrogated. It's not in the reciting of it is abrogated, but the actual meaning is still valid. And this is also affirmed by consensus in general, and also from the Sunnah as well. There's aspects of this in the Sunnah as well, from some of the Sahaba that testified against themselves when it came to zina, and took the had. And also, what's important for people to understand is the had itself is a purification. So if somebody takes the had in this dunya, then they have received the price of that sin. So if they say this person, if he were to take this had, then it would be, when he comes to Yawm al-Qiyamah, this sin is not going to be on his plate. Like this is not something that he's going to be held accountable for because he took it, he paid the price for it. And this is one of the reasons that the hudud are given as well, is as an expiation for the one who does this. And this is a way for them to be expiated. And of course, is someone supposed to actually tell about themselves? Are they supposed to say, "Oh, I did this"? The best thing, is to keep it secret between you and Allah. Like this is the best thing. That if somebody does do one of these things that is like that, it's best not to bring it out into open. And when someone did this, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, he said that he did zina, and the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him a bunch of chances to go back on it and not necessarily make him go through with this decision of taking the consequences of what he did. And so he asked him, "Are you crazy?" And asked him, "Maybe you didn't go all the way. Maybe you just kissed her." And so this was, he gave him the chance to go back, and then when he didn't go back, then he had him stoned. And so this is, of course, this is of the things that prevents people from doing this. And of course, there's not a ton of instances where people have actually been stoned, except where they have actually confessed for themselves. And so this is like their own free will in this. And of course, upon every single Muslim is to agree and to appreciate and accept whatever Allah prescribed in the matter. So if Allah and His Messenger prescribe anything, then it's upon the Muslims to accept it. Especially in a matter such as this, where this is with consensus. Like this is not an issue where we can say, "Oh, maybe sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not a part of the shariah." It's a part of the shariah. Maybe in some circumstances where someone's not in a foreign land and whatnot, they can't apply this without there being worse repercussions than them doing it. In this case, okay, you can look at their particular situation, but it is a part of the shariah, and it's something that we as Muslims are expected to accept it, and also love that Allah decreed the best thing that is for mankind in general. And so he mentions here that for the muhsan, his the repercussion for this is al-rajm, which is stoning. And of course, this is with stones that are big, like somewhat big, that it'll actually kill him when it hits. So it's not going to be like just a bunch of small stones and whatnot, but rather like medium-sized big stones for that. And so also he mentions here for the غير muhsan, he says وغير المحسن حده 100 جلدة وتغريب عام إلى مسافة القصر. And so for the person who is not a muhsan, this is the person who normally wouldn't be married. So this first person is someone who is married or in a marriage before. And so he had the chance to relieve himself of his desires. Like he had the chance to actually do his desires. So of course his punishment is rajam. But as for the person, say someone is say they're a teenager, they've never been married before and whatnot. So they don't necessarily, they never had a chance to actually have legal intercourse. So here this person that hadn't had legal intercourse yet, or at least not in a marriage situation, in this case, he this person, the repercussion here is 100 lashes, and tagrib is making someone, it's like banishing. So to banish someone for a year from that town that they were in. And of course, this is to separate them from that incident as well. So they would be lashed 100 times. And of course, like the beating itself should be with it would be like with a stick. Or it would be like with a stick, and it shouldn't be on any part of them that would actually break, like nothing that would actually kill them. Like they're not allowed to be that way, where it will kill them. But it actually should be and it shouldn't be like where they're going not to be able to handle it. They should be able to. They would be beaten, but it wouldn't be to a point where they can't whatsoever stand it. And so this is also good thing to understand when it comes also to like a woman in this case. Like if they can't actually physically bear it, then you would actually have to stop until they can bear it, and there could be a time where there's a stop, and then it would be resumed as long as there's no break in between. That was a major break. And so that's the 100 lashes, and then taghrib al-am, which is that this person is brought away. He says ila masafat al-qasr, to the length of where someone would normally. There's like 50 miles. What is it? 50 miles or 80 kilometers. which is where someone would normally do qasr in their salah. So they need to at least be brought out of that place, and then they have to be, and this is of course the imam, or like the hakim, he would do this. Like he would send them away out of that town that they were in, that they did this act in. He would send them away from this for a year as a punishment, as a banishment from their hometown and from what he's used to and whatnot. And this is what's prescribed in the sunnah as well. And so then he talks about what is ihsan. And so this is where of course the difference between either rajam or this, and it comes down to ihsan. And so he mentions this. And the first thing he says, وَشَرَائِطُ الْإِحْصَانِ أَرْبَعٌ. He says there's 4 conditions for ihsan. The first of them is bulugh, and the second one is aql. So of course he needs to be baligh, and he also needs to have his wits, he needs to be sane. And this is pretty much, if he would have said taklif, like the hadd taklif, this would have made it. Like, this person needs to be mukallaf. And so this person is mukallaf, and so that's the bulugh, and he also is sane. And wal hurriya, that this person is a free person. So someone who's not a free person, he wouldn't necessarily be treated in the same way. He wouldn't be treated as a muhsan. He would be treated as other than a muhsan. وَوُجُودَ الْوَطْءِ فِي نِكَاحٍ صَحِيحٍ. And so then he also needs to have had intercourse in a nikah that is sahih, like a nikah that is valid. And so this is of the things that he needs to have had a chance to relieve his sexual desires in this. And then if he had this, then he would be a muhsan, and if not, then he wouldn't be. Then he would have the other ruling applied. And this goes for men and women as well. And so when he mentions a nikah sahih, so if someone had, say someone got married according to the Hanafi madhab, and they didn't have a wali, their nikah is fasid. So this would not be, and then if they had to break up the nikah, okay, then this would not count as ihsan. And the same thing as if the person wasn't, say they accidentally got married to their sister from Rada'ah, like their milk sister. If they got married to her by accident, this would not count. This would not count as ihsan. They would get separated, of course, but this is not a marriage that is sahih. And so the next thing that he mentions here, he says, وَالْعَبْدُ وَالْأَمَةُ حَدُّهُمَا نِصْفُ حَدِّ الْحُرِّ. And so he mentions here that the had for an abd, a slave or a slave woman, is the half of the had of someone who is a free woman. Now, of course, he mentions the hurriya is for the muhsan. So these would not be, they would not fall under this in that case. And they get half of it. So of course, if it's 100, they would get 50. And this is a normal principle that happens with when it comes to the ahkam for like slaves and whatnot. They would get half of the punishment of a free person. And also of the reasons when he says hurriya, that this is one of the conditions. If you think about that, they're always going to get half. So you have a slave is always going to get half of a free person. So this slave, say he got married, how are we going to give him half of rajam? Like, how is he going to get half stoned? He's not going to get half stoned. So like this wouldn't apply to him. So rather he would go down to the other situation, because like death is not, you don't split it in half. So then he would only have the rajam would be the other one that is left, or like not the rajam but the jald would be the only other thing that is left for him. And so he would go into that. And of course this is putting together the different nusus and making sure that we work with all of it. And so, and he mentions here, after that, he says, وَحُكْمُ اللِّوَاطِ وَإِتْيَانِ الْبَهَائِمِ كَحُكْمِ الزِّنَا. And this, here he mentions this, and the first one that he mentions is حُكْمُ اللِّوَاطِ. And liwat is the term that is used for like sodomy. So liwat would be sodomy, and the word, it comes from the Qawm al-Lut. So like the action of the people of that Lut alayhi salam was sent to, this action, or like someone who does this action, would be considered like they would have, like this nasab isn't necessarily to the Prophet Lut alayhi salam, but it's to the people that he was sent to. So like this is the connection between the word liwat and Lut alayhi salam, like this word is not connected to him personally, it's connected to the people. So that's why when sometimes people will say, what is a person who is a homosexual, they would call him a Luti. And it's not ascribing them to Lut alayhi salam, but rather this is ascribing him and them to the people that Lut alayhi salam was sent to. And this is, of course, if someone studies in Sarf, the Bab al-Nasab, you'll know that if there's a mudaf and mudaf ilayh, and then if you were to ascribe someone to a mudaf and a mudaf ilayh, then what you would do is you would take one part of the of this that is the most that would give you the most ta'rif, that would let you know who this is, and then you would erase the other side, and then you would put the ya at the end of it. So if you have qawm and Lut, and then you're going to do ascribing to qawm and Lut, then you would take off qawm, because no one's going to understand anything if you say qawmi. This is not the attribute, to ascribe someone to qawmi. This is not what the point is. So they would take off the qawm, and then they would take Lut, and then they put the ya on it, and then it would be Luti, which is it's ascribing them to that. And the term liwat, it comes from like a fi'l that is taken from that. And of course, this is sodomy, and he mentions here that sodomy takes the same ruling as zina, and this is for the. This is for like there's two like for sodomy there's the fa'il, and then there's the maf'ulun fi, which like as far as the fa'il goes, then the fa'il he gets the ruling of zina. Like, so he would be treated just as a zani would be treated, and in this case. So like the person who is the fa'il, like not to get too descriptive, but the person who is the male, like the one that's doing the action that a male normally does. In this case, he would be the one that would get he would have the repercussions of the zani. So he'd have the same. He would be treated just like a zani in this case. And then for the maf'ulun fi, then the madhab for him is that this person would have the ruling of the ghayr muhsan. This is the madhab. So he would be treated with the lashes instead of the other things. He wouldn't necessarily be treated as a muhsan. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And this is in all cases. And this is the view of the Shafi'i madhab. As far as the ityan al-bahahim, and this is like for bestiality, the person who does this is something that is unseemly in general. Like the hudud are meant to stop someone from doing something that they are normally pulled to do. And so, like, people are not normally pulled to do this disgusting action. So from this, they would not like the related, like the mu'tamad and the Shafi'i madhab is that this person would have ta'zir. He would be punished with something other than rajam, or without an actual had, but he would be punished without this. And of course, like Abu Shujaa here, rahimahullah, he gives them the same ruling, but like the mu'tamad and the madhab is that this person, because this is not something that has clear evidence for. Like when there's not like clear evidence for this act in particular, but it would be doing qiyas on the zani, and this is farther away because this is normally something that's not even desirable. Like this is not something we're even pulled to. So instead, they would be given ta'zir, which is that they would be lashed less than they would, according to what the hakim sees as like appropriate, but they would be beaten less than the amount of a had. It wouldn't necessarily reach the level of a had. But it's similar to that, and it's something like the ta'zir. It's ta'deeb. Ta'deeb, like it's like a punishment that is done for a sin that someone does that there's no had for, and so then it would be considered in this case they would have this ta'zir done for them. As a repercussion for that, and there wouldn't necessarily be the had. This is in contrary to what Abu Shujaa says here. So now keep that in mind if you make a note that what he says is not necessarily the mu'tamad of the madhab here. And he says, وَمَنْ وَطِيَ فِي مَا دُونَ الْفَرْجِ عُزِّرَ. And so he also gives another thing. And if somebody does what which is intercourse, But if something they do what with something other than intercourse, so like without actually putting it into a farj, like into like the actual, they don't insert it into the woman's private part, or and this is also for the man as well. So if they don't actually do the insertion into that part, in this case they would have ta'zir done to them. If it's not like, of course, if it's not sodomy or like actual intercourse, then in this case they would have ta'zir done, but they wouldn't have a had. There's no had for this, so they would be punished, but it wouldn't be actually of the actual hudud, as in such as either rajam or the 100 lashes. And so he says, وَلَا يَبْلُغُ بِالتَّعْزِيرِ أَدْنَى الْحُدُودِ. And so, and he also mentions here, and this is also another important principle for ta'zir, that the ta'zir never reaches the smallest amount of hudud. لَا يَبْلُغ بِالتَّعْزِيرِ أَدْنَى الْحُدُودِ. So this is whatever, which is like the smallest hudud that we have, is for the person who drinks khamr. Like in this case, he would have 40. He would have 40 lashes. So a ta'zir can never exceed 40, or it can't reach 40. So it would have to be less than 40 lashes in this for a ta'zir. And this is like a preventative factor that there's no actual had for, but it is something that the ruler would see what is appropriate in this case, and he can choose what he should do. And of course, his choosing should be fair and just. Like he shouldn't be like just letting people off the hook whenever he likes them and whatnot. But this is something that is a judgment call that he makes. Or as someone who is in his place and that is doing that for him. Any questions before we move to the next chapter?
Assalamu alaikum, Shafi'i.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, question, because you didn't necessarily mention the punishment. Excuse me, Sheikh, I'm at the metro station and there's a homeless person screaming. Sorry for the sound, for the noise next to me. But I had a question. You didn't mention what the punishment was for the last situation.
For the bestiality?
No, not the bestiality part. For when
the ta'zir?
Two people have... So when two people have...
less than that.
Romantic relations, but not less. Yeah, exactly. But there's no penetration nor sodomy.
Yeah, so this would be something that it's something less than 40. It's less than 40 lashes. That's the punishment. And it's something that that's the ta'zir. Okay. He says uzr, which is that this person would have less than that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you, Sheikh, for the clarification.
You're welcome. And of course, there's words that that I didn't explain for you in the Mutn itself, then feel free to ask as well.
Of course, thank you, Sheikh.
Yep. Anything else? All right, inshallah, we'll move on. So the next thing that he mentioned, and that he comes up here, he's going to bring the next chapter. He says, "Fasl, وإذا قذف غيره بالزنا فعليه حد القذف بثمانية شروط." And so this is also of the beauty of Islam, and like when someone studies Islam, they see that this is adl, like that this is just for everybody, and it keeps the society in order. Is that he says, if وإذا قذف غيره بالزنا فعليه حد القذف. So if he qadf is like throwing, like in linguistically it'd be like throwing something, or like it would be like claiming here, it's claiming that someone else did zina. And so it's like saying so and so did zina, or that they're a zani or something of this sort, that they like slept around. In this case, if somebody does this to another person, then upon this person that does this, that says this about someone else, then he has the hadd al-qadf. And there's a hadd for this claiming. And so, now, of course, this is with zina, and this can happen in a matter of ways. Whether he says that this person is a zani, or that he says it in a way that's very clear what he intends to say about this person. But if he says it in a way that like he says something that could be taken multiple ways, which is considered like kinaya. In this case, you would have to ask him, did you mean this in this way? And so you have to look. But if it's clear, then in this case, he would have to, like if someone says like ya zani, o zania, or they say this about this, or if they say that if someone says that that's not your real, they say that's not your mother, and you're like born to that person, if they say that's not your mother, then that's qadh for that person's mother. So he's basically saying, or like for that, or if they say that person's not your father, so they say that person's not your father, they're basically doing qadh for that person's mother. They're basically saying that that mother slept around, and that that person is a son of other than that father. So this is something that's claiming that mother. Like, even though they're not saying to that person directly that their mother is a zania, but if they say that that's not your father, and that's the one that his nasab is pointed to, then they're basically doing that. And so this is the same meaning as qatf. And so then they would have upon them the had that is for qadf, for claiming that about someone. And of course, this is a beautiful thing that Islam does to protect people's dignity. And of course, these are the major things that Islam holds of the things that it protects, is a person's dignity and their honor, especially when it comes to these types of things. And so he says, and this is with 8 conditions. So there's 8 conditions for this to be applied for them. One of them, he says 3 of them, minha thalathatun minha fil qatif. And so 3 of the conditions, they have to do with the person who says this thing, or claims this thing, or says this evil statement. He says, وَهُوَ أَن يَكُونَ بَالِغًا عَاقِلًا. So that this person has to be baligh, like he has to be of the age of accountability, and also aqilan, and he also has to be, like, he has to be sane, as opposed to like someone who's in their sleep and they're saying something in their sleep, or they're insane themselves, so they're not going to be held accountable. وَأَن لَا يَكُونَ وَالِدًا لِلْمَقْذُوفِ. And also that he's not the father of the person that he's claiming did this. And this is also the general principle, like the father is never going to he's not going to take this, like we mentioned before, if the father kills his kid, which is ridiculous, of course, and it's a serious sin, and it's totally haram, but is he going to be killed for doing this? No, he's not going to have qisas done on him. So similarly to this, if he claims this for his kid, he says this about his kid, yes, he's doing a grave sin and a major sin, and of course he should never do this, but he's not going to have a had established upon him because he's the father in this sense. And this is qiyas on the fact, just like he wouldn't be killed by killing his kid in retaliation. So this is similar to it. It's there's qiyas that is done. This is likened to that, and he would be exempted from this ruling because of that. And so the next 5, he says here, wa khamsatun, so he said that there's 8. And so he did 3, the 3 that have to do with the person who is the person who is saying this thing. He mentions these 3, that he has to be baligh, aqil, and that he's not the father. And then also the 5 for the maqduf is for the person who they are saying this about. So there's 5 conditions that would need to be met for that. He says first, وَهُوَ أَن يَكُونَ, he says خَمْسَةٌ فِي الْمَقْذُوفِ. Maqduf is the person who is it's like this is the ism maf'ul from qadhafa. So the maqduf is the one who would be slandered. For the slandered person, the person who is being slandered, the 5 conditions pertaining to this person would, 1, that this person is a Muslim. He said, أَن يَكُونَ مُسْلِمًا. So this person needs to be a Muslim for this had to be applied. Of course, it's still wrong to do this for other people, but the had won't be applied unless this is a Muslim. And then also balighan, that this person is also baligh. Because if this person isn't even baligh, then there's no point of claiming that this person did zina. So if you have like a little kid and you said this person and this little kid made zina, of course this is terrible. No one should say this. This is disgusting. But this is not even, it's not plausible. Like this person, it's not plausible for them to have done zina. So it's not. So this would not be something. If this person is not baligh, then they would not necessarily be at the same level as someone who is baligh. And so if this the maqduf is not baligh, then also aqilan, because this is like ascribing a sin to somebody, and if they're insane, then it wouldn't apply to them. Hurran as well, and that this person is a free person. This is the other one, and also afifan, that this person is generally known not to be a zania. And so if this person had done zina before, and this person has been actually, like they had taken the ruling of zina before, and this person says, yeah, zania, or something of this sort, and this person actually has done zina before, in this case, this person's not giving him any new information. He's not claiming anything new. He's just saying what has already been established in a legal court of law, in this case. So yes, this is not a good thing to do, but it wouldn't necessarily be this wouldn't necessarily be falling into the thing that would expose them to a had. So this person, if they're afifa, and this is general, the general state of people is that they're afif, even if they're a fasik, unless there has been zina that they have claimed to either have done. If they claim that they did zina, like this person says, oh, I did zina, this, that, or the other, and they said this about themselves, and someone says this, okay, this person already claimed it for themselves. As opposed to someone who is afif, then this person has no, doesn't have this on their record, and this. And also he says here, وَيُحَدُّ الْخُرْ ثَمَانِينَ وَالْعَبْدُ أَرْبَعِينَ. And so as far as if all of these 8 conditions are met, then the hur, which is the free person, if he does this, then he would have ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدَةً. So, and this comes from the ayah, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بِأَرْبَعَةِ شُهَدَاءَ فَاجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدَةً. And so if they do this, if they yarmuna, this is the qadf. If they do this to the muhsanat, which are the afifat, like the ones that are free from this blame, then in this case they would be lashed thamanina, which is 80 lashes for a free person. And of course, as we mentioned, the abd, the slave, will always get half. So half of 80 is 40, and so wal abdu arba'in, and he would get 40 if he did that. And so, and also ويسقط حد القذف بثلاثة أشياء. And so the next thing it says here, in that the had for qadf can be dropped with 3 things. And so the first thing that it can be dropped with is, he says here, iqamatul bayyinah. So if he has evidence that he can bring up here that proves what he's saying, which of course this is the 4 witnesses. He needs 4 witnesses that actually saw this act happen. Unless he can give this bayina, then he's going to be of course he needs to either do the iqamat al-bayina, which is the 4 eyewitnesses that saw this person doing it, or that this person already claimed it for themselves, but he gives evidence for this. And then the next thing that he gives here, the number 2, أو عفو المقذوف. So this punishment is of the rights of the person who has been slandered. This is the slandered person. It's his right that he takes when this person, by demanding that this person be lashed the 80 times. So this is his right ultimately. So since it's his right, if he wants to forgive this person, he can forgive them. Just like the person who does qisas, like if a person kills someone, then the family members have the right to either forgive this person or to hold them to account for it and demand qisas for it. So this is his right, and there's the rights of Allah, and then there's the rights of the people, and this is of the rights of the people. So this person, if he forgives him, that he says this, he's like, oh, I forgive you. I forgive you for this. Then in this case, he can be let off the hook from this had. And also the next thing, أو لعن في حق الزوجة. And so this is if someone does this with their, if they are the husband and they do this to their wife. And so in this case, there's li'an, and we talked about this before, the mula'ana. And in this case, it would drop the if they say, this is not my kid, to the kid that their wife bears. In this case, this would be something that they would have upon them, the hadd al-qadf, unless they do the mula'ana, which we talked about that in the previous chapter. And so this is for the hadd al-qadf. So the next thing that he brings up here is, he says, faslun rahimahullah, وَمَنْ شَرِبَ خَمْرًا أَوْ شَرَابًا مُسْكِرًا يُحَدُّ أَرْبَعِينَ. And so he says, whoever does, this is the next chapter, which has to do with the shurb khamr. And so he says here, whoever drinks khamr, which is anything that makes someone, like khamr linguistically is wine, and also like khamr is and he says here, oh sharaban muskiran, and like or vodka, so any or some other type of drink that also is intoxicating. In this case, he would be, he says here, yuhaddu arba'in, and so this person would be given the had 40. He would give 40 lashes, and this is what is narrated. And also for the ma askara kathiruhu faqaliluhu haram, and this is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says whatever makes whatever a lot of it makes someone intoxicates, whatever a lot of it intoxicates, then a small amount of it is also haram. So there is what is also known as nabidh, which is a type of drink where they would throw in dates into their water, because their water used to be very like, it's not, we have water filters, alhamdulillah, in this day and age. We have water filters, but way back in the day, like the Arabs, they would have nasty water, and to get the taste to be somewhat acceptable, they would throw dates into the water so that they can leave the dates. They would sit in the water, and then once the dates kind of like they kind of soak up it soaks up the sugar and whatnot, then the water it has a better taste. And so this would what would be called nabidh. And so it kind of, there would be a certain process that happens where these dates break down in the water. And if it's left for a long amount of time, then it actually becomes intoxicating, because it actually starts to ferment. And once it ferments, then in this case, you'll see that that it is, like if someone were to drink a lot of this, it would get, if they were to drink a lot of nabidh, they would get intoxicated. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says here, whatever intoxicates, whatever a lot of it intoxicates, then a little bit of it is haram. So this like cuts off that thing. And one of the things that we can talk, one thing I'll mention is like there's kombucha. Kombucha has like a small amount of alcohol. But if you were to take like gallons of kombucha and you were to drink it, would you get actually drunk? And so like most of the kombucha that's out there and whatnot, if someone were to drink this, it's fermented, but it's at a level where you would never get drunk from it actually. Like you would get sick from drinking so much before you would actually get any type of buzz from it. So in this case, like kombucha is something that's permissible, because whatever, as long as a lot of it doesn't intoxicate, then a small amount of it it's totally fine. As opposed to if you had like maybe kombucha went bad, and all of a sudden like this kombucha, which is a fermented drink, if someone were to drink like a gallon and a half of it, they would get a buzz from it. In this case, no, you can't use this. And the same thing with any of the other fermented types of beverages that are out there, then in this case it would be haram. And of course, like beer and whatnot, that's very clear. But with some of these other fermented drinks, as long as it's not going to be something that a lot of it will get you intoxicated, then a small amount is permissible. But if a lot of it will get you intoxicated, then that small amount is haram for someone to do. And so he mentions here, whoever drinks khamr, which is wine, or sharaban muskiran, which is other than that, such as like vodka or beer and whatnot, then he would get the had, which is 40. And also he mentions here, وَيَجُوزُ أَنْ يَبْلُغَ بِهِ 80 عَلَى وَجْهِ التَّعْزِيرِ. So if someone wanted to go all the way up to 80, is this permissible to go over the 40 and go more than that? Because maybe there's someone that has a serious problem, and the hakim, or like the ruler, he sees that this person, he needs more than 40 for him to get across the message that this person needs to stop doing this. And so he says it's permissible for them to do this in a way that's ta'zir. So like to go over the 40 and to reach 80, it's permissible for someone to do this from the way of thinking ala wajh ta'zir. Like it's not from the actual had. The had itself is 40, but from the way of adding ta'zir on top of it, this is something that's allowed for them to do. And so of course this is allowed for the hakim to make this decision. And the next thing that he mentions here is he says, وَيَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ بِأَحَدِ أَمْرَيْنِ. So how do we know? How do we know this person actually drank or not? And are we gonna? And of course, this is a basic principle: is we never like jump into people's personal lives. Like it's impermissible for someone to go peek into someone's house to see what they're doing inside their house and see if they're drinking or not. Like it's totally haram to go check in someone's house to see if they're doing something haram. This is not a part of what Islam prescribes for enjoying the good and forbidding the munkar. This is totally impermissible. But he says there's either one with bayina, which is like having a witness that comes up and he has an actual witness, awal ikrar. And these are the two ways, that having like a witness that sees him drinking it and whatnot with evidence, and or there's ikrar, which is that this person says, I drank this. And he says here, وَلَا يُحَدُّ بِالْقَيْء وَالِاسْتِنْكَاهِ. And so like, so if somebody, this person, he looks drunk, he's totally drunk, he comes up, he's a Muslim, he's drunk, he comes up, and all of a sudden he throws up, and you can just smell alcohol in the vomit and whatnot. Are we going to hold him accountable for this? No, we don't hold him accountable unless we saw him drink it, unless we have someone that watched him drink this thing that is alcohol, and we know that this is alcohol that he's drinking, and we're clear about this. This is the only time we'd be able to do this, and we can't make someone throw up and then charge them with drinking. And also, we're not going to do any breath tests. We're not going to do any breath tests to prove whether or not this person is drinking or not, because this is not for us to go into the people's personal lives in this. But if this is something that's open, then of course this is going to be addressed. Like if somebody's actually seeing this person do this, then of course he's going to be addressed in that. And a basic principle, like we talked about some of these hudud here, a basic principle is when it comes to hudud, we're always on the safe side. We err on the safe side and we don't go to any other measures. So say someone has a security camera. Are we going to establish any hudud because of something we see on a security camera? No. The security camera, like for the hudud, we can't use like as a witness. Like we talked about the zina, the hadd zina. This would only be established with either 4 witnesses or someone that claims that they've done it themselves. If they claim they did it themselves, then we take their word for it. But 4 witnesses, they have to be eyewitnesses that see this person doing the act of zina, and they have to actually see the penetration themselves. If they just see a man on top of a woman moving, that's not enough. They have to see the thing enter into that. And if they don't see the thing enter into it, then in this case this does not count as an eyewitness. And of course, and one of my shuyukh, he said, like, if somebody does this, and then it's like prescribed for the qadi to ask this person, are you sure, did you look more than once? And if the person says, oh, I looked more than once, more than once, and he kept looking, he said, then this person's a fasik, you don't receive his testimony. So of course, like this is so he basically does tafsik on the person, and then you wouldn't receive his testimony if he would ask him. He's like, did you look more than once? If you looked more than once to see this act, then you would say, oh, you're a fasik, and then you wouldn't even receive his testimony. So this is one of those things. And of course, the basic thing when it comes to hudud and when it comes to these acts is that we're always commanded with satr, like not to bring things out in the open. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And this is of the beauty of Islam in that. And also, we've never, like, as far as Islamic history, when it comes to hudud, we've never had like an instance where 4 people have actually, like, I've never heard of anything, and like a lot of the shuyukh that I've talked about, they've never come across anything where there's ever been a historical incidence of 4 people, 4 witnesses claiming that someone did zina. And like there was one instance where there was almost 4 people that came up. There was 4 people, and then one of them backed out, but they never claimed it, so no had was established with 4 people in the whole time of Islamic history. And wallahu a'lam of the reason for the wisdom of this. But in a time like, even like in this day and age, we see that like promiscuity as something that is huge. And of course, unless it would actually reach the level where people are out in the open doing this promiscuity, then they wouldn't be necessarily given the had, unless they testified against themselves and this. And of course, like for someone, if they ever did this thing, it's for them to make tawbah between them and Allah and ask Allah to forgive them. And it's best for them not to say this out, and that they ever did this and whatnot. And if they've made tawbah, then it's as if they've never done it. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Any questions? I also like that as DNA tests. DNA tests don't establish promiscuity. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. When it comes to the last is the purpose for lashes to embarrass the person or more for the pain? Because I've seen some videos, I don't know if you explained it before, but it seems like it was more embarrassing for the person more than to hurt them.
Yeah, this is supposed to be done publicly. This is supposed to be a public, it's supposed to be a public instance where it's not something that's like if they are beaten and whatnot, or if the rajam happens. This is something that's supposed to happen publicly. So maybe embarrassment is something that gets across to this person, and maybe the other side of it, like the pain itself, is what gets across to the person. So this is a hikmah that can be this or can be that, but it's supposed to be done publicly, and this is of the benefits, not just for embarrassment for that person, but also a reminder to the rest of the people around them. You know, like this is what happens when someone does this, and of course this is good for everybody involved, not just for the person not to do it again, but for the people that see it, that prevents them from wanting to do that. Yeah, you have a question? Yeah, Anthony?
Yeah, and the second one is
Okay.
what?
Yeah, please ask. I'll let Yusuf finish. Sorry, Yusuf, continue.
Oh, sorry. Just the kalima wal istinkahi. What's the meaning of it?
Istinkah,
Baqi.
it means like that to look into, to like smell it. Go ahead, Anthony. I'll look it up.
Yes, Sheikh, I had a question because considering the fact that we're living in a day and age where promiscuity is more and more prevalent, let's say, for example, I have a brother, that's like my blood brother or a friend. He asks me about this girl that he wants to be with, that he wants to marry, and it's a person that I've known maybe back when I was in high school. I've known this person, and they were known to be a promiscuous person. And whenever I would go to like gatherings where there's multiple friend groups, I would see this person be promiscuous with other people in front of everybody, because we're living in a Western country, so it's normal. Since you said that, unless there's 4 witnesses, and let's say, for example, this is like 10 years later, and now my friend's asking to marry the same girl that was promiscuous in the past, how do I tell him, or do I not tell him at all?
You wouldn't tell him.
If I don't have concrete proof.
What you can't tell him concretely. What you can say is, you can say something without saying anything about like actually telling that she was promiscuous, but you can say things like she was in bad crowds, she would hang out with men. You could say things of this sort to give the nasiha, but you can't say that she was actually promiscuous. You can't say that she actually slept around. Like if you were to say she slept around with other people, no, you can't say this. But you can say she used to hang out with men, she used to have boyfriends. You can say things of this sort, because this doesn't point to it like directly. And of course, like giving nasiha is important.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sheikh, go on. I cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Okay. No, and I was saying, so even though multiple people know, everybody knows, like it's a known thing. It's not like I'm slandering her, for example.
No,
Like,
unless
it's a known thing.
unless she herself
Like
has
with-
said that she sleeps around, you can't do it. Unless she herself says that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sheikh.
Yep. Inshallah, if there's no other questions, we'll call it for now. We'll come back after, like we have now it's the adhan. So we'll pray and then we'll come back, inshallah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.